It's on. The race to replace Angela Rayner as the deputy leader of the Labour Party, and it could cause real splits and headaches for Sir Keir Starmer. My name's Tom Harwood and this is GB News Originals. Remember to click that subscribe button to stay completely up to date. Now, ever since the former Housing Secretary, the former Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Angela Rayner, resigned in disgrace, there have been holes to fill at the heart of government. That led to a huge reshuffle over the weekend, where the Prime Minister moved everyone from the Home Secretary to the Science Secretary and shuffled around his top team in a considerable way. Out was almost every single Home Office minister. Out was almost every single minister in the department that is controlling farming. The farming minister gone. The Environment Secretary moved on to another department too. An almost admission of failure in various areas. Whether it's the Home Office, where small boat arrivals are the highest they have ever been, or indeed the Agriculture Department, where we've seen farmers frankly shafted by technical tax changes that harm family farms. In all of these areas where people have been moved around, you can almost sense a tacit admission that there has been a level of failure, whether that's on the political level or on the deeper policy level too. But there is one role that has not yet been filled. Whilst all the ministers are now in place, the political role of the deputy leader of the Labour Party, that is still vacant. It's a role that can't be filled by the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer because it's elected by the members of the Labour Party. Yes, this elected position can cause a bit of a thorn in the side of any Labour government because it's not entirely within the gift of the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister does have, allegedly, favoured candidates, people who would be much more on side with him. But of course, it could be the case that the Labour membership elect someone who is less on side with the Prime Minister, who is more willing to be more critical, to use the position as a bit of a bully pulpit to make sure the Prime Minister is held to account, to push the Prime Minister in a more left-wing direction, to be the voice of the membership and the left-wing causes that they support. That is a political risk for the Prime Minister at a time of political jeopardy. Of course, let's not forget that the Treasury is preparing a budget for the end of November, a budget that is widely predicted to contain huge tax rises for the British people. And we're also seeing, of course, those small boats come across the channel. We're seeing fires being battled on almost every front from this government. This leadership election is, number one, a distraction at the time when the government should be governing. But it is also a time when a microscope will be held up to this government from a left-wing perspective. Will it push that budget in a more left-wing direction? Will it push the entire government in a more left-wing direction? Well, that remains to be seen. But who has thrown their hat into the ring when it comes to this deputy leadership election? Well, first out of the gates on the weekend was Dame Emily Thornberry. Yes, she had been slighted by the Prime Minister when he got into office. She was the Shadow Attorney General when the Labour Party was in opposition. But upon their election, she was unceremoniously booted from a position in the cabinet in favour of the Prime Minister's friend, Lord Hermer. Yes, Lord Hermer was made a member of the House of Lords, Richard Hermer as he was before that point, and put in as Attorney General. Emily Thornberry found herself on the back benches, having expected to be in government. Has that created some bitterness between Emily Thornberry and Sir Keir Starmer? Well, you tell me. She was out on the Sunday shows saying that the government had been failing, particularly on domestic issues, without a particularly good story to tell. Well, she has now declared her official candidacy, and her candidacy is going around the Labour MPs with a very left-wing set of policies that she wants to promote. She says that the government has failed on everything from Gaza to a wealth tax to benefits reform, and she wants to push the party in a much more left-wing direction on all of those issues. Of particular note is, of course, that idea of a wealth tax, which has been doing the rounds massively in the sort of left-wing ecosphere, but which most economists say would be economically disastrous for the United Kingdom, pushing away investment, pushing away high net worth individuals at just a time when the state has never relied on high net worth individuals more for the share of tax that they pay. If you lose a few multi-millionaires, if you lose some billionaires, well, many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of ordinary working people will have to see their taxes go up to replace the lost tax revenue of just one incredibly wealthy individual. But it's not just Emily Thornberry who's thrown her hat into the ring. There's also Bridget Phillipson. Now, she is the Education Secretary, a member of Keir Starmer's cabinet. Because she is a member of the cabinet, it's widely suspected that Bridget Phillipson is the preferred option of Keir Starmer, someone who will remain on side, bound by collective responsibility as it's known, enforced to support government policy and not stray too far from the line lest she lose her cabinet job. Keir Starmer would really rather a cabinet minister become the deputy leader of the Labour Party because it keeps everyone on message and in line. Also, Bridget Phillipson is a northern woman. Now, these two issues seem to be the largest sort of issues that anyone is talking about when it comes to this contest. Less what these people think and more the gender of these people and indeed their place of birth. Perhaps that's going to be a bit of a damaging mark against Emily Thornberry, who is, of course, an Islington MP and a lawyer at that. Can both the leader and the deputy leader of the Labour Party be North London lawyers? Well, perhaps that would be stretching credulity. Also throwing her hat into the ring is the left-winger Belle Ribeiro-Addy. Now, she is a London MP who's putting forward her candidacy to no doubt try and push the party a bit further to the left. That has been her hinterland, that has been her tradition. It will be interesting to see what her unique stance is, because there are going to be a lot of candidates in this race who try to push the party further to the left, who say that the party has gone too far to the right, who have been involved in rebellions and threatening rebellions when it comes to welfare and so many other issues. Of course, the backbenches of the Labour Party have pushed this government, despite its huge majority. They've been able to push this government about when it comes to financial decisions. That perhaps has helped push up the cost of borrowing that this country has seen really rise and rise. Someone else who's thrown her hat into the ring is Lucy Powell. Now, people might remember her as a cabinet minister until about 5 minutes ago. Yes, she was sacked by Sir Keir Starmer as leader of the House of Commons just last week in that reshuffle. She was the casualty of the cabinet. Perhaps there's some bad blood now between Lucy Powell and Keir Starmer. Perhaps she would really like the opportunity to stick the boot in. This is one of the areas where it might be very difficult for Keir Starmer, for the cabinet, for the government as a whole, unleashing the forces of a deputy leadership election where people feel like they have to sort of sprint to the left and give the government a good kicking in order to get a hearing, in order to get some airtime, and in order to get elected. Now, that incentive structure is a really pertinent and pernicious one. It's all very well and good if a Tory or a Reform MP kicks the government. Everyone expects it. But when a Labour MP criticises the Labour government, well, that carries more weight. That reaches further. That's why it's quite so perilous for the Prime Minister. One thing to note, though, perhaps one of the reasons why Lucy Powell was sacked from the cabinet, was a disastrous appearance on a BBC radio programme called Any Questions, where Lucy Powell described the grooming gang scandal as a dog whistle. That will be an albatross around her neck, not just at the country at large, but also in this deputy leadership contest, when of course they have to be thinking about how Labour takes the fight to the Reform Party, currently leading in the polls. Now, someone else who has declared is the Liverpool Wavertree MP Paula Barker, seen as being very much on the left of the Labour Party. She was until May last year a member of the Socialist Campaign Group of MPs. It's a shrinking group, but it is the hardest core, left-wing core of Labour Party MPs. Traditionally, the members are people like Diane Abbott, John McDonnell, Jeremy Corbyn before he was kicked out as a Labour MP, Zara Sultana before she was kicked out as a Labour MP. Perhaps that is why Paula Barker decided to step back from the group itself, but certainly she has been on the vanguard of the left of the party for many years. She will be putting forward a critique of this government very much from the left. She will be competing with Bel Ribeiro Addy as one of those most left-wing voices. But of course, all of these campaigners, all of these candidates to become the deputy leader of the Labour Party will be feeling that there is ample room, ample space amongst the membership to win by promoting a vision of a Labour government that is to the left of where this current government is. Remember back to Emily Thornberry's promise for a wealth tax and all of these other ideas. No doubt we will hear about Gaza a lot too. Paula Barker, of course, has been campaigning on Gaza very heavily for her entire career. So there is going to be a huge amount of criticism on these fronts. And Paula Barker, we can expect to be one of the most fervent left-wing voices within this campaign. Now, someone from the traditional Labour right who has declared her position is the Housing Minister Alison McGovern. She has entered the race as well. Perhaps she'll be offering a bit less of a sort of left-wing critique of this government, but it's hard to see how she would be able to sort of make it through. She might be the standard bearer of the Labour right. It seems like it's unlikely she would be able to get much further given the implicit support that Bridget Phillipson has as a cabinet minister standing for the role. Alison McGovern is the next rung down, a junior minister, a minister within the housing department. Now, would she be able to have the same gravitas? Will she be standing with the support of the Prime Minister? What will her pitch be? Well, I suppose that will remain to be seen. All of this is a very interesting race. It could be perilous for the Prime Minister, as I say, and that is why the Labour NEC has tried to make this race as short as possible, to cauterise this wound. There is a hustings event on Wednesday this week, and then the nominations close on Thursday. After that, there is a number of weeks where there is an online ballot for Labour Party members to make their decision. There could be more individuals declaring their candidacy in the coming 2 days. But the question mark is, how damaging would this be for the government? Even if a loyalist is elected, and perhaps that's not so likely given the Labour Party's position in the polls, but even if a loyalist is elected, the very fact of having this leadership contest, of airing the dirty laundry in that fight to become deputy leader of the Labour Party, well, that is a challenge for the Prime Minister. Well, we'll keep a close eye on it here at GB News, so do remember to click that subscribe button and download the GB News app in order to stay absolutely up to date with everything we're discussing. I'll be back with you here on GB News Originals as this race develops.